So Loop, we had one person in the chat, one person respond that they use Loop. I might have been the one that actually put that in there. This was something I didn't even know existed about 2 or 3 months ago. This has now made its way into daily use for me. So this is a kind of a co-creation, tables, lists, and a flexible canvas. And, really kind of talking to that's just really a lot of maybe buzzwords that don't really mean anything. I want to show you and share with you how this has personally helped me. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into what my day looks like. And I, a part of a team on my organization with productivity, data, and AI is what we talk about. And we have a weekly sync. So that weekly sync is set up in Microsoft Teams. My manager there, Daisy, sets up our weekly meet. We meet on Monday mornings. And you can see here meeting notes in the series. And so every time we start the meeting, we turn on something called Facilitator. And so this is a function of Copilot. So if you do have Copilot and you see that little down arrow on your meetings and there's a toggle button for turn on Facilitator, absolutely something to go ahead and enable. And what this does is in real time transfers the agenda. So we see the goal, catch up on recent projects, gather feedback. We go through things like good news, vendors, props and shout outs, any kind of stats and numbers from the business, and reminders, as part of our just weekly basis. I'm sure many of you have something very, very similar. As well as there's a poll in the chat about that Copilot usage. And so if you wouldn't mind, letting us know about your Copilot usage, would love to see some stats on what that looks like inside of there. And then you can see the post-meeting bookings that happened. And so I was very fortunate to take a holiday, got myself a little bit of a tan, took a nice warm European holiday and had an absolute great time. What came out of our meeting actually was that my colleague Dawn maybe needs to handle certain calls when I'm gone. And so that was a discussion that happened. And again, the benefit of Copilot is that I don't have to go back and watch an hour-long recording, or I don't even need to read the Copilot notes as much because I can come into these meeting notes, which have a much better kind of clear thing going on. And then if I click this view recap, and I know my screen's a little bit small, there's that Teams icon. And so this will directly reach into the Copilot notes for that meeting and let me know a little bit more if I really need to kind of deep dive into what they were talking about, or, if we enabled that full kind of transcription, really kind of see exactly what was said about things that were out there. There is Copilot functionality included into this. And so if you're a user of Copilot, you're very familiar with this button and this sidebar. Hopefully it's become, a little bit like home. But again, over time, we can do very simple tasks. And I imagine we'll see this expand as Copilot continues to improve. You can see that little preview button there means that's a little bit in beta mode, but certainly something I expect to come full general availability sooner rather than later. But I could look at files that I opened. How should I format product requirements? Because maybe it doesn't need to be in an Excel. Maybe I need to save it as a CSV or some information like that, but it's just not apparent to me. Copilot can help me stay on the screen, take a look at my meeting notes, and really kind of work in a good fashion. And, here, for example, I can start a new workspace. So if I did need to spin off a specific project, I can come into here. Looks like we can do some emojis and things like that. So we'll kind of keep it simple there if we want to put a bit of flavor. We haven't probably not going to talk too much about security today, but if you are enabled with things called sensitivity labels, then we can make this confidential and just scope this in only to the leadership team, the HR team, the finance team, whoever that might be. And then I can share this across a number of my colleagues. And so again, maybe just my department or members of that project team that I'm working with, adding content and kind of creating various bits inside of it. We'll maybe suggest some files there based off some AI creations. But again, very easy for me to come into here and quite literally Copilot can help me architect this from scratch. Again, you're not going to be a Copilot focused day here, but it really is great for inspiration. And I can reuse something that I've created. I can use one of these loop templates that might be in there. And so let's maybe click on those and see what they have. Oh, great. Yeah, a project briefing, or we've got a big decision to make as a team. So let's make this team decision together. And you can see it's, kind of got a nice, a little bit more of aesthetically pleasing things in there. Or, let's go ahead and try to figure out why something is maybe just not quite working. These templates and some of this AI assistant can really help us get started with, okay, so how, are we going to go about certain things? It looks like maybe some healthcare related things in there, or kind of various bits for problem framing, or again, that Kanban board that I mentioned. And so if we're doing things that are maybe related to a project, that's what that might look like, for example. And again, this data is from Microsoft's demo company, Contoso, is where these templates look like there, as I recognize a couple of these users in there. Maybe you're a team leader as well and just want to set up a one-on-one meeting, set that up recurring. You've got your agenda, your notes, and we can assign action items to individuals for maybe certain things, or development, feedback, career progression, and so on. With that, I want to be cognizant of time and make sure we get through everything. So again, that's Microsoft Loop.